We trust women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do. And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
Vice President Kamala Harris keeps abortion front and center as she kicks off her presidential campaign. Vice President Harris has been the Biden administration's voice on abortion, with a national tour promoting the killing of children in the womb as a so-called right. She is the first sitting vice president to visit abortion providers and staff. This footage from that visit in March. While not an official candidate of the Democratic Party yet, Harris does have the necessary delegate votes to be on the ticket now that President Biden has bowed out of the race. Meantime, GOP leaders avoided the topic of abortion during the Republican National Convention altogether. Former President Donald Trump said during the presidential debate he wants to leave the issue up to the states. And his running mate, J.D. Vance, once a staunch pro-lifer, seems to have waffled on the issue, most recently in an MSNBC interview where he said he supports access to the abortion drug mifepristone. Abortion will be on the ballot in multiple states come this November. Our sister organization, the Catholic News Agency, has an interactive map you can follow on their website, catholicnewsagency.com. Leading pro-life advocate Jeanne Mancini, president of the March for Life, joins us now to discuss abortion in the upcoming election. Jeanne, welcome and thank you for joining us. Over the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of changes on the Republican position on life, very different from 4 years ago. Is there hope that the Republican Party will support protections for the unborn?
Yeah, well, Monse, thanks so much for having me and thanks for doing this piece. It was really disappointing, frankly, how we saw the Republican platform play out. And of course, the March for Life is a non-sectarian and nonpartisan organization. But for many, many years, really since the early 1980s, the Republican platform every single 4 years has gotten stronger and stronger on this issue. So truly what happened in just last week was that this got very much undone. Life was mentioned, but it was a sort of small tip of the hat, and even really with some confusing language. So it was incredibly disappointing, but all is not lost, right? Like we don't put our heart here in the politics of the issue. We work to change hearts and minds.
Well, what do you make then of J.D. Vance's support of abortion pills? We know that most abortions occur because of the access to abortion pills.
So we have to be fair. We can only trust his words. Now, what I can say is that J.D. Vance spoke just in October at our Ohio March for Life, and that I believe that he is a very pro-life person. But especially when you're running for office, when people come out publicly, and you mentioned that terrible Meet the Press interview, when you come out publicly for something like access to chemical abortion, he needs to set the record straight, because we can only go by his words at this point. So my hope is that he will, that especially now with Kamala Harris possibly being the presidential candidate on the Democratic side, that he will set the record straight on what he stands for. And if not, then we just have to trust that he does stand for chemical abortion and open access to that, which is really disappointing.
Disappointing and dangerous. Well, we also had J.D. Vance on the show on Pro-Life Weekly back in November. And here's a snippet of what he had to say. Let's take a listen.
I knew a lot of young women growing up in a poor family in the Midwest that felt like they had to choose abortion when an unplanned pregnancy happened. And I think that we have to speak with a certain amount of compassion, and we have to recognize that very often the choice to have an abortion is not one made because people don't like life. It's because they don't feel like they have an option.
The pregnancy centers that have been targeted by the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrats asking to ban them. Does this election cycle provide opportunities for us to bolster support for pregnancy centers so that women actually have a choice the way that J.D. Vance described?
Ooh, that's a great question, Monse, and it's so necessary right now. I think we should pitch that very much to the different campaigns, but I can tell you from Kamala Harris's background and her history, she went after pregnancy care centers in California, forcing them to basically advocate for abortion. And ultimately that case went to the Supreme Court and she lost, thanks be to God, but she is no friend of pregnancy care centers.
Absolutely not. Well, she's been stumping on the idea of so-called abortion, a right to abortion. How do the large number of congressional seats up this election season affect the possibility of that she would actually have a bill to sign into law at some point?
Well, let's just say it's critical, and here's why. Let's just look at her record. I mean, the short story here is she is the most radical abortion, I've heard the word czar, extremist that we could possibly have in the highest office in our country. So she is not for even a ban on late term or a protection against late term abortion. In fact, when she was asked about where she stands on even a 20-week limit, so what we're talking about here is what mainstream America for well over 15 years would want. She said, no, 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 there should be no limits. She was the co-sponsor of the most pro-abortion bill ever that's been brought before the Senate or the House, the deceptively named Women's Health Protection Act. Of course, we can remember when she was California Attorney General, she went after our friend David Daleiden, who was a whistleblower on Planned Parenthood. She, by the way, got campaign funds from Planned Parenthood for running for Senate when she was the California Attorney General. So she is no friend of life, and we really need to keep a close eye on her record.
Is there anything that you would want to see? I mean, we heard J.D. Vance with his pitch on pregnancy centers. I don't know if that's going to transfer into this election season, but is there something that you would want to see that you think would cut across both sides of the aisle so that there could be protections for life this election season?
There are so many potential creative bills that can be supportive of life right while it's in the womb, but after the baby is born. For example, Senator Rubio had introduced a wonderful bill. So I think bills along those lines could possibly appeal to both sides.
Well, we will look forward to that, and we'll keep holding everyone accountable. Thank you so much, Jeanne.
Thanks for having me, Monse.